attending years ago when I was on Rawhide, and there was a big party up in Nevada.
Clint Eastwood built his legend by saying little. On screen, he was the man who stayed in control. Off screen, control was harder to find. Behind the westerns and tough guy image came marriages that cracked, romances that overlapped, children kept out of the spotlight, and women whose stories surfaced years later. Some relationships were public, others stayed buried until biographies, interviews, and court battles pulled them into view. Even now, parts of Clint's private life remain unfinished, with old claims competing against what he chose to admit. At 96, the mystery has not faded, and the full story feels out of reach. Join us as we dig into the loves, secrets, scandals, and hidden chapters that made Clint Eastwood's life away from Hollywood far messier than his movies suggested. Before the cowboy, there was trouble. Clint Eastwood Jr. was born on May 31, 1930, in San Francisco. Nurses called the huge newborn Samson because he weighed 11 pounds, 6 ounces. He grew up with his younger sister Jeanne, while his father changed jobs and moved the family several times during the 1930s. Clint later spoke about the hard spirit of the Depression, but the family eventually settled in Piedmont, California, in a comfortable neighborhood. They had a swimming pool, belonged to a country club, and both parents had cars. School was another story. Clint struggled with grades, repeated work, attended summer school, and was asked to leave Piedmont High after several incidents. He later finished at Oakland Technical High School in 1949. Before Hollywood, he worked ordinary jobs. He was a lifeguard, paper carrier, grocery clerk, forest firefighter, and golf caddy. In 1951, he was drafted into the Army during the Korean War. One frightening moment came while returning from a planned meeting in Seattle. The bomber carrying him ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean near Point Reyes. Clint and the pilot used a life raft and swam about 2 miles to safety. He left the Army in February 1953. By then, his private life was already complicated. Eastwood later told biographer Richard Schickel that he had lost his virginity at 14. At 19, he dated an older schoolteacher who, according to him, became deeply attached and threatened suicide after the breakup. He later described his early romantic conquests as numerous. That pattern matters because the famous Hollywood stories did not begin after fame arrived. They were already part of his life before a camera made him famous. His family roots stretched far back in America. He had English, Irish, Scottish, and Dutch ancestry and was descended from Mayflower passenger William Bradford. His father later worked for Georgia Pacific, while Ruth took clerical work at IBM. But by 1953, Clint was no longer simply the restless young man from California. One relationship was about to lead to marriage, while another would quietly leave him with a daughter almost nobody knew about. A wife, another woman, and a hidden daughter. In early 1953, Clint met Margaret Maggie Johnson on a blind date in the San Francisco area. She was a secretary who later became a fitness instructor. The relationship moved quickly, but it was not exclusive. While Clint was spending time in Seattle, he joined a little theater group, reportedly because of a young woman he liked. That unnamed woman became pregnant. Their daughter, Lori, was born in February 1954 and placed for adoption. Accounts differ over what Clint knew at the time. One biographer argued he believed the pregnancy had ended, while another said he discussed it with family and friends before leaving for Los Angeles. Lori's existence stayed out of the public story for decades. Meanwhile, Maggie announced her engagement to Clint in October 1953, and they married that December. The timing was striking because the other woman was still carrying his child. Clint later called this period married bachelorhood. Even before the wedding, he had made it clear that he wanted freedom. A 2025 biography quoted an old photoplay interview in which Eastwood said, "One thing Mag had to learn about me was that I was going to do as I pleased." He also said Maggie accepted that he was independent and did not control him with possessiveness. Actress Mamie Van Doren later said she had an affair with Clint in the summer of 1955 while they worked on Star in the Dust. He was still a tiny name in movies, playing an uncredited part. That same year, reports also linked him to a pre-fame Jane Mansfield. It was happening while his career was barely moving. The strange part is that the professional struggle and the romantic freedom grew side by side. As Hollywood slowly opened its doors, Clint's marriage remained in place, but the rules inside it were already very different from what the public might have assumed. Laurie was adopted by Clyde and Helen Warren in Seattle and later became a schoolteacher in Washington. She refused to discuss her biological mother when the story became known. Meanwhile, Clint headed toward Hollywood, where rejection came before fame. Hollywood said no, until Rawhide changed everything. Clint's first Hollywood years were full of rejection. Through contacts connected to Fort Ord, he reached Universal and auditioned for director Arthur Lubin. Lubin liked his height and looks, but thought his acting was very rough. Clint was told he did not know how to move properly and was encouraged to take drama classes. Universal signed him in 1954 for $100 a week, but small roles and failed auditions followed. He appeared briefly in Revenge of the Creature, Lady Godiva of Coventry, Francis in the Navy, Tarantula, and other low-level projects. Universal ended his contract in October 1955. He changed agencies, kept taking tiny television parts, and later called Ambush at Cimarron Pass a low point. Then came Rawhide. In 1958, he was cast as Rowdy Yates, and the Western changed his life. The show climbed quickly. Filming was exhausting, often 6 days a week and around 12 hours a day, but Eastwood finally had a name viewers knew. Fame also gave him far more opportunity away from the set. In 1959, during Rawhide's second season, he began a long affair with dancer and stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis. She was married but separated. Their relationship reportedly lasted about 14 years and produced daughter Kimber in 1964. Kimber's birth certificate named Eastwood as her father, but her existence stayed out of public view for years. Sources later disagreed on what Maggie knew. Some said she may not have known at first. Others said the marriage was open enough that she knew about Roxanne and even met her. Barbara Eden, who had appeared on Rawhide, described Clint and Maggie as having a somewhat open marriage. One profile later said the couple had stayed together by staying apart. Clint's career was now moving fast, and so was the private life behind it. The clean-cut television cowboy was becoming a star, but off-screen he was also maintaining a wife, a long-term mistress, and a daughter almost nobody outside their circles knew existed. By late 1963, another problem had appeared too. Clint was growing tired of Rowdy Yates and wanted out, the man with no name and plenty of women. That escape arrived when a fistful of dollars came along. Clint accepted $15,000 for 11 weeks of work and a Mercedes at the end, ready to leave the clean Western hero behind. Sergio Leone turned his stillness into an advantage. Clint later explained that he wanted to use fewer words and let attitude and movement create mystery. Leone joked that Eastwood had only two expressions, with the hat and without the hat. The result was the man with no name, an anti-hero who made Clint an international star. For a few dollars more, and the good, the bad, and the ugly followed. Rawhide was canceled during the 1965-66 season. Clint had started at $750 per episode and received a severance payment when it ended. The Dollars trilogy reached audiences in 1967, and all three films made money. American critics were often harsh, but audiences made him a box office name. That success helped Clint establish Malpaso Productions with advisor Irving Leonard, giving him far more control over the movies he chose and how they were made. Then Hang 'em High, Coogan's Bluff, Where Eagles Dare, and Paint Your Wagon pushed the television cowboy deeper into movie stardom. That growing power also came with more attention. Biographers later linked him to women, including Inger Stevens, Arlene Galanka, Joanne Harris, Jill Banner, Catherine Deneuve, Susan St. James, Reiko Oshida, Keely Smith, and others during his marriage. Some of those claims came from later accounts rather than public confirmation, but one on-set romance became especially famous. While filming Paint Your Wagon in 1969, Eastwood and actress Jean Seberg, both married, reportedly began an affair. Seberg apparently believed it was serious enough to leave her husband, Romain Gary. Gary was even said to have challenged Eastwood to a duel, although it never happened. Reports later claimed Seberg did not realize Clint was also involved with another woman on the same production. When filming ended, Clint returned to Los Angeles and stopped pursuing Seberg. Her publicist described her as deeply hurt, but Clint entered the 1970s unchanged. The bigger Clint got, the messier love became. Away from the cameras, Maggie was still Clint's wife. After a separation and illness in the mid-1960s, the couple tried to build a family, welcoming son Kyle in 1968 and daughter Allison in 1972. At the same time, Clint's career exploded. He worked with Shirley MacLaine in Two Mules for Sister Sarah, directed Play Misty for Me, and in 1971 became even bigger through Dirty Harry. The role of Inspector Harry Callahan turned him into one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, but success did not bring stability to his private life. Reported affairs continued. Restaurant critic Gail Green later said she began an affair with Clint after interviewing him on the set of Two Mules for Sister Sarah. French model Kathy Reagan was also linked to him around that period, while Danielle Cote claimed they had a 2-year relationship and even appeared briefly in Paint Your Wagon. Roxanne Tunis, meanwhile, remained part of his life for years despite his marriage to Maggie. So while the public saw a rising movie star, his private world was still divided between family life and women outside the marriage. Clint later admitted to biographer Richard Schickel that affairs could become addictive, comparing the urge to wanting another cigarette. A 2025 biography repeated that description and argued that, even while married, Clint often behaved more like a bachelor. The pattern was becoming difficult to ignore. He could build a family at home, become one of the most famous men in Hollywood, and still keep separate relationships moving at the same time. By the mid-1970s, however, one actress seemed different. Unlike the shorter affairs and quieter relationships that came before her, she would become part of Clint's daily life, his movies, and his home. For a time, even people close to him believed she had changed him completely, but what looked like his most serious love story would eventually become one of the ugliest personal battles of his life. Sandra Locke was supposed to be different. Clint met Sandra Locke in 1972, but their relationship took hold while making The Outlaw Josie Wales in 1975. Both were legally married. Clint was still married to Maggie. Locke had been married since 1967 to Gordon Anderson, a gay sculptor and longtime friend, in what she described as a marriage of convenience. By the time Clint and Sandra began living together, Locke said he had told her there was no real relationship left between him and Maggie. In her memoir, she claimed Clint told her he had never been faithful to one woman because he had never been in love before. She also said he made up a song called "She Made Me Monogamous." People close to Clint saw something powerful between them. Producer Fritz Manes later described it as absolute total blind love. The two became partners on and off screen. They appeared together in The Gauntlet, Every Which Way But Loose, Bronco Billy, Any Which Way You Can, and Sudden Impact. Their chemistry became part of Clint's movie world. Yet even this relationship was more complicated than it looked. Locke said she had 2 abortions and later underwent a 2-ball ligation during their years together. She also remained legally married to Anderson. Clint finally divorced Maggie in 1984 after years of separation, with reports placing the settlement at around $20 to $25 million. Locke did not divorce Anderson. Later accounts disagreed over whether that became a major source of tension. Clint had become legally free, but Sandra was not. At the same time, biographers claimed he was still maintaining other relationships. The man who had supposedly found the woman who made him monogamous may not have changed as completely as Locke believed. And while the two kept making successful movies together, Locke said her career became tied almost completely to Eastwood's projects, limiting how Hollywood saw her. Yet while she worried that the partnership had narrowed her professional world, Clint was already slipping back into old habits. One relationship in particular would stay hidden from Sandra until everything between them had fallen apart. 2 children Sandra knew nothing about. In the early 1980s, biographers said Clint returned to his old pattern of seeing other women. Names linked to him included Megan Rose, actresses Jamie Rose and Rebecca Pearl, Jane Agee, and flight attendant Jaslyn Reeves. Clint also fought to control some rumors. In 1982, he sued the National Enquirer over a story claiming he had cheated on Locke with country singer Tanya Tucker. Yet later biographies continued naming other women from this period. Reeves, however, became far more important than another rumor. Clint reportedly met her at his Carmel restaurant, the Hog's Breath Inn. While he was still living with Sandra Locke, Reeves gave birth to 2 of his children. Scott was born in 1986, and Catherine followed in 1988. Their birth certificate stated, "Father declined." The affair was not reported publicly until a tabloid expose appeared in 1990. Reeves was quoted saying some relatives wanted her to file a paternity suit, but she did not want to. She later said she and Clint had a good relationship. Scott and Catherine still remained absent from many mainstream accounts of Eastwood's family for years. According to Locke, she had no idea another woman had given birth to 2 of Clint's children during the final years of their relationship. That secret would matter enormously once their life together fell apart. What began as a hidden affair was about to become evidence, at least in Locke's eyes, that the relationship she thought she understood had contained a second life. The breakup that became a legal war. Clint and Sandra Locke separated in April 1989. Locke said the ending came brutally. While she was away working on her second directing project, Clint changed the locks on the home they had shared and had her belongings moved into storage. She filed a palimony suit. Eastwood argued that Locke had remained married to Gordon Anderson throughout their relationship and was not entitled to the kind of support she sought. At one point, he described her as a roommate before changing that to part-time roommate. The bitterness sharply contrasted with what friends once described as deep love. Locke later learned about Jocelyn Reeves and the 2 children Clint had fathered during their years together. Around the time their relationship ended in 1989, Clint's dating life became much more visible. Reports linked him with Barbra Streisand, Marisa Berenson, Jean Grace, Danny Crane, Barbara Minty, Sonia Braga, and others. In 1990, while the legal fight continued, Locke was diagnosed with breast cancer. She said Clint did not contact her after learning about the illness. She eventually dropped the palimony case in exchange for a settlement that included money and a directing development deal at Warner Brothers. The agreement was supposed to give her a path back into directing, but when projects did not appear, Locke became convinced the deal had not been genuine and sued again for fraud in 1995. Eastwood denied her version and later said money was the real issue. Locke insisted the fight was about her professional rights. For Locke, the battle had become deeply personal. The fraud case was settled in 1996, while her separate action involving Warner Brothers continued until 1999. By then, years had passed since the romance itself ended, but the legal damage was still following both of them. And long before those cases were finished, Clint's personal life had already moved forward. One actress in particular had become much more important. This time, the relationship would be public, they would work together on one of his greatest films, and another daughter would soon enter the Eastwood family. Frances Fisher entered Clint's complicated world. That next relationship had actually begun before the Locke breakup. Clint met Frances Fisher at a pre-production gathering for Pink Cadillac in 1988, and their quiet, non-exclusive romance became public around 1990. Fisher later admitted she knew about Clint's history with women, but still believed their relationship might be different. "I simply felt that this was it, the big one," she said. "I had no idea that every woman he meets probably feels as I did." Professionally, this was also one of Clint's strongest periods. After weaker box office years, he returned to the Western with Unforgiven in 1992. He had waited years to make the story because he wanted to be old enough to play William Money. The film became a major success and won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director for Eastwood. Fisher appeared in the movie too. Their daughter, Francesca, was born in August 1993 on the anniversary of Unforgiven's release. It was reportedly the first time Clint was present for the birth of one of his children. Even then, Fisher said secrecy remained important to him. According to later accounts, he wanted her pregnancy kept quiet until late in the term because he did not want it distracting from his Oscar campaign. Trouble followed. Fisher later described going into labor early at Clint's Northern California ranch and being taken to a hospital by helicopter. She said that while she was in heavy labor, Clint stood talking golf with the doctor and later signed an autograph for a nurse after initially saying it was not appropriate. Another strain came when Fisher learned about Clint's hidden family with Jocelyn Reeves through other people rather than directly from him. Scott and Catherine had been born while Clint was still with Locke, and that discovery added another layer of distrust to a relationship that was already weakening. Fisher later said the breakup required mediation and took her 2 years to grieve. Clint and Fisher formally ended things in early 1995. By then, another woman was already moving closer to his life, and for only the second time, marriage would follow. After decades of affairs, Clint said, "I do again." That woman was Dina Ruiz, a news anchor Clint met during a 1993 interview. She was 35 years younger. The exact start of their romance was unclear, but by early 1995, they were appearing together in public. Clint confirmed he was no longer living with Frances Fisher, and the relationship with Dina quickly became serious. They married in March 1996 at the home of casino executive Steve Wynn near Las Vegas. Considering Clint's long history with women, it was only his second legal marriage. He called Dina the one I've been waiting for, while she said being only the second woman he had married meant a great deal to her. Their daughter Morgan was born that December. Even after marriage, Clint remained guarded about his family. In a 1997 60 Minutes interview, Steve Kroft asked how many children he had. Clint answered only, "I have a few," and Kroft later said the mood changed instantly. Dina, however, helped bring different parts of Clint's unusual family together. Eastwood later gave her credit for being friendly with his first wife, former girlfriends, and children from earlier relationships. For a man whose private life had been divided for decades, that was a major change. Even with Dina beside him, the old pattern of privacy never fully disappeared. His career stayed strong through films like The Bridges of Madison County, Absolute Power, Space Cowboys, and Bloodwork, but rumors never disappeared completely. In 2001, Clint was linked to jazz singer Diana Krall, though both sides denied any romance. Older controversy also followed him. Former friend Fritz Maines alleged Clint had once struck Maggie during their marriage. Eastwood strongly denied the claim and filed a $10 million libel suit against biographer Patrick McGilligan and his publisher in 2002. The case was later settled confidentially. By 2012, Dina and members of the family appeared in the reality series Mrs. Eastwood and Company. Clint appeared only occasionally, while Dina joked during promotion that she hoped they would still be married after the show. The joke soon felt uncomfortable. The following year, Dina entered treatment for depression and anxiety, and by 2013, she said they had been living separately. She filed for divorce, and the marriage officially ended in December 2014. Clint, as usual, said very little publicly. Another long relationship had quietly come apart, but his private life was already preparing to move into another chapter. Christina Sandera stayed, while controversy followed Clint. After the separation from Dina, Clint was publicly linked with photographer Erica Tomlinson Fisher. Reports described an unusual chain in which Erica's former husband later became involved with Dina, while Clint dated Erica for a period. That relationship did not last. Clint was also linked in reports with producer Noor Alfallah. Then, in 2014, he began spending time with restaurant hostess Christina Sandera, 33 years younger than him. They never made a major public show of the relationship, but they stayed together for about a decade. That same period showed that Clint had no interest in slowing down professionally. American Sniper became one of his biggest commercial hits. In 2015, however, he drew criticism after making a joke referring to Caitlyn Jenner during an awards show introduction. Sully became another success in 2016, while his comments attacking political correctness caused a separate backlash that year. Gran Torino actor B. Vang later wrote about feeling uncomfortable when some audiences laughed at the racist insults used by Clint's character. In 2018, Clint directed The 1517 to Paris. That year also brought the death of Sandra Locke at 74. Clint never publicly addressed her death. Then came The Mule, which created a very different debate. At 88, Clint directed and starred in a film containing 2 scenes suggesting threesomes with much younger women. Critics questioned why they were needed, especially because he also controlled the movie as producer and director. Richard Jewell brought another dispute in 2019. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution objected to the film's portrayal of reporter Kathy Scruggs, particularly the suggestion that she traded sex for information, and legal action followed against Warner Brothers. Cry Macho followed in 2021. Around these later years, Scott Eastwood also shared stories about Clint's strict parenting. He recalled leaving Catherine at a party and said Clint later slammed him against a wall and punched him in the face, warning him never to abandon his sister like that again. Scott described it as part of the old-school discipline inside their family. By 2024, however, Clint's private life was hit by a painful loss. In July, he announced that Christina had died at 61. He called her a lovely, caring woman and said, "I will miss her very much." Her death was later attributed to arrhythmia, with coronary artery disease listed as an additional condition. Their decade together was over, but Clint's private story was not. A New Woman and Clint's final Hollywood chapter. By the fall of 2024, only months after Christina Sandera's death, reports said Clint had entered another relationship. The woman's identity was not revealed, which was hardly unusual for someone who had spent decades keeping major parts of his romantic life away from the press. That same year, Juror Number 2 reached audiences and soon created questions about whether Clint had finally made his last movie. The following year brought another strange reminder of how difficult it had become to separate new Clint Eastwood comments from old ones. In 2025, an Austrian newspaper published what appeared to be a fresh interview with the 95-year-old filmmaker. The article quickly spread because Clint seemed to be criticizing modern Hollywood. But Eastwood challenged the story and explained that, although the quotes themselves were genuine, he had not recently given that interview. They had been collected from older conversations. Then, on May 31, 2026, Clint turned 96. His son Kyle said that year that his father had retired, suggesting Juror Number 2 had indeed become his final directing effort. In 2026, Scott Eastwood shared a story showing how little his father's working style had changed, recalling tension with Kevin Costner during A Perfect World. According to Scott, Costner remained inside his trailer when Clint expected everyone to be present on set. Clint responded by changing the scene and sending him home for the day. Scott said Costner arrived ready to work the following morning. It was the same hard, fast approach Clint had carried through decades of filmmaking. His career finally appeared to have stopped, but his family remained harder to pin down. Reports still identified 8 known children by 6 women, only half acknowledged at the time. Clint had long refused to confirm the exact total, while biographer Patrick McGilligan argued the number could be indeterminate. His representatives had avoided discussing his personal life, leaving the public record incomplete. Do you think Clint Eastwood's complicated love life changes the way you see his Hollywood legacy? And which relationship in his life surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.